let's get right to the point. Anything I say to you here is to answer your biggest question. Should I or shouldn't I join the military? Everything else is just crap, right? Time's a wasting, and I need to know. Should I? Or shouldn't I? Well, let me submit this to you. I believe you've already made the decision. You're just looking to validate that decision. Am I right? Really, stop and think hard. Am I right? You know exactly what you're going to do, don't you? War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. In an open letter, Christian Ballman explains the hardships as well as the privileges of joining the military. Letter to a Young Enlistee by Christian Ballman.
Hello and welcome to all those who are to be having a jolly good time. I know I'm ready to get down and hit the dance floor. Not to mention snag some voluptuous ladies. But while I'm getting my freak on, there are lots and lots of gods just waiting to be worshipped, dots ready to be put on one's faces, and lots of American jobs just waiting to be outsourced. Now that was me a couple weeks ago. But in my defense, I did it in the one place I could be certain no one would pay any attention at all, at school. And as MC of my school's ethnic fair, I was single-handedly responsible for this year's record-breaking turnout of 8 people, 7 of whom found my little speech to be racially insensitive. And it really got to me. I asked myself, how could I, the son of immigrants from India who came to America with just $5 tucked away in their back pockets and managed to live the American dream despite insensitivity? Demonstrate it myself. So the other day, obviously over some curry, I started to think about the insensitivity in all of us, its causes, stereotypes, and hate speech, its impact on our society, and the nature of this pervasive conflict. And finally, some common sense solutions, things you and I can do in our everyday lives to mitigate the profoundly negative effects of this societal illness.
When my cousin suggested to my mother and I that we should dog sit her incredibly energetic beagle, we weren't really ready for it. You see, my mom doesn't even know what a dog is, so we had a few issues, and I realized that it was going to be a very long night. My mom was yelling at this dog, telling him to do all these things that a human should do, but it was a dog. It was an incredibly, incredibly long night, and I realized that my mom needed a few dog issues, so we really needed to find a way to teach her how to actually deal with a dog. Although it was a very long night, I realized that the dawn eventually did come, and it was fine in the end. And my mom didn't hurt the dog too much. So, when looking at today's African proverb, however long the night, the dawn will break, we can see that this is entirely true. That in order to truly be successful, one must go through some long experience to truly reach that success. And we will see this in 3 main ways today. First, how we must be patient to reach that dawn. Next, how we must put in that hard work to get there. And finally, what might happen if we never truly understand that patience and that hard work, and therefore will never experience our true potential.
In one of the most classic episodes of arguably the most classic TV show of all time, SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob, the main character, and his buddy Patrick Star go around their hometown of Bikini Bottom and set literally every building inside of the city on fire. After the deed is done, SpongeBob and Patrick walk to the middle of the city, where SpongeBob looks around at all of the burning buildings collapsing to the ground and says, "Patrick, we did it. We saved the city." This is exactly the US's approach and response to the current war in Afghanistan. Because despite the fact that a war has currently been going on in Afghanistan for the last 16 years, and the US has been involved for 16 years, we're still having to ask the question today as to whether or not this war was a failure. In fact, on June 15th of 2017, Reuters reported that President Donald Trump made the executive decision to send 4,000 more US troops to the nation of Afghanistan. And upon understanding that this conflict has been long-lasting, intensifying over recent years, and the US is only getting more and more involved, it's crucial that we reflect, analyze, and ask the question, was the US war in Afghanistan in vain? The answer to which is an unfortunate no, because the conflict has only intensified despite US action.
First day of school. Okay, Morgan, the teacher's pet. Good morning, everyone. How are we all? Oh my gosh. What is going on in this classroom right now? This is a paper airplane. What? No, I'm gonna write all of this down and you're all gonna get in trouble. Okay, you're chewing gum. Oh, no. And you're on your cell phone. And oh, no. What are you looking at? Morgan, the teacher's pet. Phil, what are you doing? Oh, the real question is, what are you doing? Well, Phil, I'm writing down everything that you guys are doing so that whenever Mrs. Perkins comes in the classroom, she knows what her students are doing on the first day. Duh. Yeah, I heard that Mrs. Perkins is a complete pushover, so good luck with that. But just in case, I'm gonna rip up your notepad. And now it's all the way across the classroom. What are you gonna do about it now, Morgan? A new notepad? Wow. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna write that down. And this year, Phil, you're not getting away with anything. Oh, sorry, I don't speak Morgan, but did you just say dance party? Oh, I believe you just said, let's have a dance party around my desk. George, play that new song, man. No, I just want to learn. All right, George. Guys, come on. Dance party. Dance party. What is going on in the class? What is that noise, young man? What are you doing? Dance party. Dance party. Go sit down. Hello, class. My name is Ms. Borstav, and I am your new teacher.
For a long time, it was just me and Ollie. Ollie and Melody. Melody and Ollie. Ollie. And you know, I definitely think that Ollie's life is worse than mine, though, because, well, he doesn't have good thumbs like me, no. Because Ollie's just my goldfish. Kind of feel bad for him. I mean, all he does is just swim around his little bowl all day. At least I get to go to school. And you know, once I started school, I discovered that I had a much bigger problem than just falling out of my chair like wet spaghetti. You see, I'm in one of those special programs with other kids with what we call disabilities, and I like all the kids in room H5, and I understand their situations better than anybody, but they're not like me. I wanted something different, something new. Which is why I got so excited when I heard the principal announce on the loudspeaker that any kid who wanted to try out for the Whiz Kids quiz team could go to Mr. Dimming's room after school. And that's when I decided to delete all my memories to make room for facts. Quiz facts.
Don't act like you know me, nah, nah, yeah. I am not your homie, not your home, nah, nah, yeah.
Somewhere over the rainbow, 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 rainbow. Oh, hit it, munchkins. Da 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 with He's a whiz. Toto, oh Toto. Oh, Dorothy, girl, you better come on. They said there's a storm a-coming.
Oh, not right now, Em. I gotta find Toto.
Oh, Dorothy, don't you ever listen to me, girl. I said there's a storm a-coming. Now come out.
Oh, Toto, oh, Toto. Toto? Oh, I don't think I'm in Kansas anymore.
Up with it, girl. Rock with it, girl. Show them it, girl. With a bang bang. Bounce with it, girl. Dance with it, girl. Get with it, girl.
I love cake. I can't be any clearer than that. I love cake. I could eat every cake in New York City. I can't even go into bakeries anymore. Because I'll eat all the cake. I'll say, where's the cake? I love cake. Get me some cake. And they'll say, we know how much you love cake. We know that you rarely have enough money to buy our cake, so you can't come in here because you can't afford the cake. But you love the cake. So get out of here. You cannot have any of the cake. You don't have the money to buy any of our cake. I want cake. I want your cake. Give me all of your cake. I love cake.
Black Beatles in the city, be back immediately to confiscate the monies.
With that, I would now like to present my affirmative case. Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves. Because I agree with Abraham Lincoln, I must affirm today's resolution. On balance, violent revolution is a just response to political oppression. To clarify, I'd like to offer two observations. Observation 1 explains the evaluative terms. The qualifier on balance requires an evaluation of general principles. In addition, in the phrase a just response, a, according to the Random House Dictionary, means not any particular one. Given these operational terms, the question for today's debate is if violent revolution should theoretically be included among the legitimate responses to oppression, not if it is the correct response in an isolated situation or categorically the best option. Observation 2 explains the nature of political oppression. Oppression is defined by the Oxford English Dictionary as the prolonged, cruel exercise of authority. The modifier political makes the agent of oppression a government. Political oppression goes beyond the basic restriction of rights because even just states must restrict some degree of autonomy to preserve social welfare. Additionally, all societies can pass bad laws, but if the people have avenues to fix these mistakes, then the system isn't politically oppressive since citizens ultimately have control.
Let's imagine for a moment that I'm being mugged, okay?
Okay.
Do you think it's just for me to retaliate against my aggressor?
I would say that that is a right of self-defense.
So it is just?
That would be just.
Okay, now would it be just for me to subdue my attacker, tie him up, and then proceed to beat him with a baseball bat?
The question you seem to be asking is the answer is a little more complicated.
Sure, go
because,
ahead.
Okay, when somebody attacks you, every individual has that fundamental right to self-defense.
Okay.
So what that means is that in a question of justice and what people are due, that right is something that matters no matter how you implement
Okay, but
that
isn't
right.
there some sort of proportionality to self-defense? Like if you steal $1 from me, am I justified in breaking your kneecaps?
Well, my argument is that when an oppressive government uses violence against the
No,
people,
I'm just asking you a question outside of the scope of the resolution. Is there proportionality with self-defense?
the individual is allowed to use violence.
So
that
if I take
responds
$1
to
from
the
you right now,
oppressor.
can you beat me?
The problem with your analysis is, one, no, I wouldn't be able to beat you.
Why not?
Because the situation you're drawing is not similar to the situation of an oppressive regime.
Okay, but we can say that there needs to be some sort of proportionality in terms of the response to political oppression, correct?
Well, I just want to make sure that there's a distinction in terms of proportionality.
Okay, that's fine.
When we talk about proportionality, all I'm saying is that if an oppressive government uses violence against the people are just in using violence in retaliation.
Okay, that's fine. I'm kind of curious. Nonviolence is the answer to the crucial political and moral questions of our time. The need for mankind to overcome oppression and violence without resorting to oppression and violence. Because I agree with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that violence is not the answer, I negate the resolution that on balance, violent revolution is a just response to political oppression. Since the resolution questions the justness of violent revolution, the highest value for the round must be justice, defined as giving each their due. All humans are fundamentally due basic rights and liberties, the clearest of which being the freedom from unjustified harm. We would never condone that an innocent person be subjugated to a violation of freedoms, just as we would object to excessive sanctions meted out for petty crimes. Human beings, as the ultimate component of morality and justice, are intrinsically due dignity and respect. This is why it is permissible for me to use violence to fend off a dangerous mugger, but I'm not justified in torturing her after she has been subdued. By causing unnecessary harm, I have fundamentally disrespected the rights and humanity of the person I attack. Respect for individuals, thus, requires that we attempt, as much as is humanly possible, to refrain from bringing about unnecessary suffering. Thus, the value criterion for justice is the prevention of unnecessary suffering.
But my heart's been hurt a couple times by a couple guys that didn't treat me right. I ain't gonna lie,
My partner and I stand strongly in support of the resolution. Resolved that private ownership of handguns should be banned in the United States. We firmly believe that the costs to society far outweigh the benefits. Firstly, because handguns are most frequently seen in crimes and suicides. According to a study from the Office of Justice Programs and the U.S. Department of Justice in 2003, from 1993 to 2001, an average of 737,360 violent crimes were committed with handguns in the United States each year, making handguns 7 times more likely to be used to commit violent crimes than any other
firearm. The right
firearm.
of all Americans to be safe within their homes is basic and fundamental. That right satisfies the essential human need to be free of fear for one's safety and the safety of one's family. Simply stated, the right to peace of mind. For many Americans, safety is best ensured by the option of owning a handgun. To preserve that option, we negate resolved that the private ownership of handguns should be banned in the United States. First, the right to self-defense entitles law-abiding citizens to the option of owning a handgun under appropriate conditions. The primary nature of that right is beyond dispute. As long ago as 1790, Justice James Wilson of the United States Supreme Court proclaimed, "The great natural law of self-preservation cannot be repealed, superseded, or suspended by any human institution."
My first question is regarding your statistics as to the numbers of self-defense uses per year. You stated this was from Gary Kleck, correct? And do you know the survey size or the methodology of his study?
I believe he surveyed, I've heard 5,000 and I've heard 15,000, but he surveyed a group of people and he determined that self-defense was used 2 million times per year from these results. He's also one of the most notable criminologists on the topic, and he actually won an award for the book in which he published the self-defense survey.
But do you,
Now,
sorry. Do you think that 5,000 to 15,000 people in a survey pool is enough to apply this data to the entire United States?
I think if you do the survey right, certainly. Now, I have a question for you about suicide. You talk a lot about how the reason that we have such high suicide success rates is because of the availability of handguns. You are aware, I believe, of the almost impossible to get around gun restrictions in Japan?
Yes.
Okay. Are you also aware that Japan has one of the highest suicide success rates in the world?
Right, and to go with that, the pro side advocates the fact that the reason Japan tried to enforce a handgun ban was because of its high suicide rates.
Okay.
It's not
Are you aware that it
cause and
hasn't
effect.
been successful and that suicide rates are still highest in Japan? How do you explain this?
Actually, this is disputable evidence. As we can see that it's always been high, we have to look to whether it has increased or decreased since the time of the ban. But I have another question for you. With regard to your 80% of guns obtained illegally, were you aware of the fact that this is divided into multiple sections of a pie chart and the fact that 33% of this comes from friends and family?
Okay, if you're getting it from your friends and family and you're not supposed to be owning a gun, isn't that illegal?
Right, but it happens because friends and family
Okay, but
are
it's
now
still
able
illegal,
to obtain
correct?
guns.
But it's still illegal.
But it wouldn't happen if there was a handgun ban.
Okay.
Of the fake love, show me what you're made of. Boy, make me believe.
Whoa, hold up, girl, don't you know you're beautiful? And it's easy to see. If it's meant to be, it'll be, it'll be. Baby, just let it be. If it's meant to be, it'll be, it'll be. Baby, just let it be. So won't you ride?